Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Violet Avenue Elementary School for this exciting event. Before we begin, I would like to ask the former graduates of Violet Avenue School to please stand up and be recognized. Thank you. And now the retired teachers from Violet Avenue School, please stand up and be recognized. Well, good afternoon, Violet Avenue community, students and staff, and all of our dignitaries. It was 5 short years ago we had a similar occasion to celebrate the dedication of Haviland Middle School, the old FDR High School, that also received the distinguished honor of being on the National Register of Historic Places. And about 2 years ago, we were approached by Weston Davey, who works for the Presidential Museum and Library. And he had never gone through the process of getting a building on the National Historic Register. So he reached out to us, and I contacted Deanna, and we thought, how can you say no to that? Somebody was offering services free of charge. So we helped and assisted Weston in all the ways that we needed to give him the information. And sure enough, we were very pleased when we received the information saying that this is indeed now on the National Register of Historic Places. I also want to introduce Deanna Springstead Gonzalez, the principal of Violet Avenue Elementary School. And when she started to discuss with me the events of the day, she said, the one thing I do want is I want this to be on a school day because I want all of the students to see this. So could all the Violet Avenue Elementary students please stand up? Thank you for joining us today. We are so happy you can be part of this celebration. Before I turn it over to our Board of Education President, I'd like to recognize a few people. David Roosevelt, who will be our keynote today, grandson of Franklin and Eleanor, welcome. Mark Molinaro, the Dutchess County Executive, thank you for joining us. Assembly Member Deedee Barrett. Todd Sancredi, Town of Poughkeepsie Supervisor. Patsy Costello, Town of Hyde Park Historical Society. And Patsy, thank you so much. She has a network that got a lot of information out to former students and teachers, so thanks so much, Patsy. Paul Sparrow, Director of the FDR Library and Museum, welcome. Sharon Mattias could not make it, but she's a former Board of Education president, and she currently works for the Culinary Institute of America and has arranged for all of our refreshments, so thank you, Sharon. We have Tom Scaglione from Governor Cuomo's office. Tom, welcome. Aileen Ward, Town of Hyde Park Supervisor. And I believe someone from Senator Serino's office might be here, maybe not yet.
On their way.
On their way, okay. Town of Poughkeepsie Police Department, Sergeant Gary Hulbert, thank you for coming. Detective Chris Hamill, and Christopher Mader, Fairview Fire Department. And now it is my pleasure to ask Mr. Douglas Heater, our Board of Education President, to come up for some remarks.
Let me see. Everybody hear me? Very good. Thank you very much, Dr. Rychek. It's a pleasure to be here. This is a celebration of a truly, truly beautiful building, and we should all be proud of it. But I got to thinking, I said, you know, it's not just a building. If you've spent any time inside the building, you would know that it is a warm and caring environment. It's a happy building. It's a place where there are caring and competent staff members and a wonderfully diverse student body. And I think the nice thing also is that diversity is celebrated throughout the year. And I think that's important, that we learn to get along with people of different cultures. Personally, I love this school. I mean, I really do. This is a great school. And quite frankly, if my grandchildren lived in this district, I'd be more than proud to have them go to this school. Because this is not just a building, this is a community. This is a family. And it's a family that's named Violet Avenue School. Thank you very much.
Good afternoon, everyone. It's my pleasure to lead everyone in the Violet Avenue song. And the Violet Avenue song was written probably 40 to 50 years ago by a previous music teacher, Mrs. Jean McKee Armstrong. But I'd like all the children that are Violet Avenue students now, or even were Violet Avenue students, if you know the Violet Avenue song, everyone stand up and we're going to sing it along. Here we go. By a river neath the mountain, there's a school that we love. In the valley of the Hudson, in the Catskills above. Oh, Violet Avenue, we honor you. To Violet Avenue, we will be true. You oh so proudly as we sing songs of praise. All the pleasures we have known here we'll remember always. Oh, Violet Avenue, we honor you. To Violet Avenue we will. Everyone, oh, Violet Avenue, we honor you. To Violet Avenue, we will be true. Awesome job. Thank you, Mr. Booth.
You're welcome.
Thank you very much.
Okay, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for being here. I have the distinct privilege of introducing David Roosevelt, our guest speaker. Mr. Roosevelt currently lives in the Hudson Valley with on his family's estate in Springwood in Hyde Park with his wife and 2 young daughters. Following a 40-year career in philanthropy and nonprofit sector, which included leadership of 3 foundations as a senior advisor for the United Nations Food Program, he established a consulting business in the international philanthropies of his home base in Switzerland. Today, although he considers himself semi-retired, he continues to offer consultation services to a limited number of local and regional organizations. He also speaks and lectures worldwide on a range of topics. In 2002, David and his wife, Manella, authored a book about his granddaughter entitled Grandmere, A Personal History of Eleanor Roosevelt. It is from this experience and his awareness of his granddaughter's legacy was heightened, and as a consequence, he dedicated an entire year speaking and lecturing throughout Europe on behalf of the United Nations and the High Commissioner for Human Rights on the occasion of the 60th anniversary and Declaration of Human Rights. His engagements included a major model UN programs, several large human rights conferences, 4 lectures at the European Parliament in Brussels, and radio and television forums in more than 10 countries. It is my honor to introduce to you David B. Roosevelt.
Thank you. It's wonderful to be with you today. What a lovely day. I was a little concerned over the weekend. I'm going to try to keep my remarks as brief as possible. As Deanna mentioned, I have 2 young daughters, and it is chilly out here today. It's not as bad as it could be, but and also I remember and still know with my 2 little ones just how antsy I would get having to sit and listen to someone talk. So I will try to keep my remarks brief, or as brief as a Roosevelt can. You know, my grandfather throughout his life had a lot of interest, and he was a great collector of things. He accumulated one of the largest stamp collections in the world. This was a passion that began when he was about 7 years old. And because of his love for the water, he loved the Hudson River. He loved the ocean. And he also loved his summer home, Campobello, which was also where he contracted polio, and the Bay of Fundy. But as a result of this love for the water, he also was a great collector of naval paintings and prints, many of which are in the FDR library. And of course, I may also mention his extensive and perhaps one of the largest collections of ship models anywhere in the world. Those also are in the FDR library. Did I mention that he also had a love for wildlife in general and birds in particular? Well, for many years, he used to go on the property and hunt birds. The only catch was his father made him stuff the birds. So I guess FDR's first real job was as a taxidermist. Perhaps, though, one of his most memorable interests was in architecture. He loved the Dutch influence brought on by his Dutch ancestry, as well as the influence that surrounded him in his beloved Hudson Valley home. Because of this latter influence, and being surrounded by fieldstone walls which line the roads and fields all around Hyde Park, he developed an affinity for combining both the Dutch architecture and the fieldstone into all of his designs. And you may say, all right, what designs? You know, what did FDR really do? Well, in 1915, he designed the renovation and expansion of his home, Springwood. Of course, he got his mother to pay for it. And that renovation and expansion essentially doubled the size of the house. If you see it today, the 2 wings of the house are in fieldstone, but not the center part. Then, of course, in 1927, he was instrumental in helping with the planning of the Hyde Park Library, which his mother paid for, and was rightfully named in honor of his father, James Roosevelt. Later, he designed both my grandmother's cottage at Valkill, just down the road a ways. And he designed and built his retirement home, Top Cottage, which of course most kids wouldn't know this, but he never got to use it because he ran for a 4th term and died in office before he could retire. And it didn't stop at these activities. It was during his presidency that he commissioned 6 new post offices, including the Hyde Park post office. And he designed the FDR Presidential Library. And in fact, he even designed the National Archives building in Washington, D.C. FDR was one of only 2 presidents who had such an interest in design and architecture. The other was, of course, Thomas Jefferson. Unfortunately, my grandfather, his talents could never match those of President Jefferson, which is a shame, but my grandfather never designed a university either. And so it was that in 1938, when planning began for 3 new school buildings in Hyde Park, he, of course, FDR, of course, involved himself in all stages of their design and construction. That same year, he took the school board's construction proposal and delivered it by FedEx. No. He took that proposal to the Public Works Administration, the PWA, which eventually financed 45% of the construction of these 3 buildings. Then in 1940, he dedicated these buildings. And his dedication comments, he connected the new schools not only with the importance of education, which he so strongly believed in, but also, this being a year in which he was running for office again, he connected these new schools to his New Deal policies and to the world situation, which was, of course, World War II. These 3 new schools, he declared, were symbols of a new responsibility that our democracy has assumed as one of its major functions: to give work to as many American citizens as possible, citizens who might otherwise not be able to find work. He explained that local taxpayers and the government must partner in paying for new schools, and if so, they contribute to not only the local economy, but to local morale as well. He said that in almost every county of the country, similar projects to the ones that were taking place in Dutchess County and particularly in Hyde Park, similar projects could be seen all over the U.S. Schools, bridges, airports, waterworks, hospitals, and many more. Such projects, such partnerships between the public and the government would ensure the future economic well-being of this nation. He went on to say that these 3 new schools symbolize the continuation of that thing that we call democracy. Nothing was more important, he thought, than universal free education. education free from government intervention controlling textbooks, teachers, and curriculum. As he stated, tyranny hates and fears nothing more than the free exchange of ideas, the free play of the mind that comes from education. Indeed, education was vital for the well-being of this country and for the defense of America and the continuation of democracy. There is perhaps nothing that ensures world democracy more than education. And the three buildings that we honor today, and particularly the Violet Avenue Elementary School, these are the epitome of democracy. This is what our education is all about. And if you look at the countries that do not share in democracy, these are the countries in which the people are uneducated and they cannot think for themselves. And so for all these young people out here, these are the answer to our tomorrow. And so with that, we welcome the honor that is bestowed on this school. I thank you very much.
It's our hope every day that we make your grandfather very proud here at Violet Avenue. I think he would be. So thank you so much for spending your day with us. Okay. So next I would like to introduce to all of you Deedee Barrett. She is our New York State Assembly member for District 106.
Thank you. It's such a treat to be here today on this very special occasion and to look out at the audience at this really beautiful group of young people for whom Violet Avenue School is their home right now, and the rest of the Violet Avenue community. It's really an honor to be able to give you this proclamation from the New York State Assembly recognizing both the 75th anniversary rededication, but also the inclusion of this school in the National Registry of Historic Places. That's a pretty cool thing to happen. And I'd like to also just to point out to the kids here, you are so lucky to live in an area that you live in like this that has so much rich history. I mean, do you know that the very first presidential library in the whole United States is right here in your community in Hyde Park? I mean, what David Roosevelt was talking about, his grandfather's library, that is the first time in this country that a presidential library was established, and we have it right here in our neighborhood. And we have so much rich history about the founding of our country, from the early Dutch and the English settlers, from the Native Americans that were here first, through the Revolutionary War, and it's all right here in our backyards, in our front yards. So I hope you'll take advantage of that wonderful exposure and that wonderful history right here, and be so proud to be living in a great place like Dutchess County, Hyde Park, Poughkeepsie, to be able to have that part of your everyday life. So let me give this to whoever wants to receive it.
Thank you
and
so
thank
much.
you, and thank you so much for the opportunity
Thank
to
you.
be part of this.
We're happy you're here.
Thank you.
So
Congratulations.
much. I'll leave this out, photo opportunity, so that everyone can check it out. Thank you. Next, I would like to introduce Thomas Gaglione. He is from Governor Cuomo's office. Thank you.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everybody. What a special day. What a beautiful day. Not a bad day to spend a school day, huh? So congratulations to Violet Avenue School, Elementary School, on this fabulous occasion. And actually, let's give a round of applause to the superintendent, to your principal, for a fabulous ceremony put together so far. And the governor is a big history buff, and he wants to send personal congratulations. So we have a letter from the governor, and it reads, Dear friends, I am pleased to offer my greetings and congratulations to everyone gathered for the 75th anniversary of the historic Violet Avenue Elementary in the Hyde Park Central School District. Since 1940, this remarkable institution has seen generations of children come through its doors. Today, you assemble to pay tribute to the past and to celebrate the Violet Avenue Elementary School being added to the Register of Historical Places. On this special occasion, you commemorate an important milestone in your school and your community's history. I commend the efforts of everyone affiliated with Violet Avenue Elementary for their valuable contributions to this landmark school building. With warmest regards and best wishes for many more years of excellent teaching and learning, sincerely, Andrew Cuomo. Thank you.
Okay. And next, I would like to introduce to you, Mark Molinaro is here. He is our Dutchess County Executive, and he would like to take a few minutes to say a few words and welcome all of you. Thank you so much.
I don't want to take too many minutes. How many of you know what you want to be when you grow up? You do? What do you want to be when you grow up? Right there. A teacher? I think we should stop there. Who else knows what they want to be when they grow up? Over there, red and white sweatshirt. Yeah. What do you want to be? A military what? Soldier. Who else? Over there, the black and white, I think black and white striped shirt. Young man. Yeah, what do you want to be when you grow up? Yeah. You got to shout really loud. Police officer, huh? Okay, I think I got it. That's the magic of elementary school. And that's the magic of Violet Avenue Elementary School. I promise you, you can put your hands down. I promise you, all of you, the students, will try. You will try to remember this day. You'll try. You'll go through the school year and you'll remember that a president's grandson was here and spoke to you. You won't remember that I spoke to you. You remember that he spoke to you. You'll go to middle school and high school and college, and you'll remember that you attended a school building designed and supervised by the President of the United States, who called Hyde Park home. But as you get a little bit older, you won't remember this ceremony. You probably won't even recall why you were here, and some of you will just remember that you struggled to stay awake. But I promise you, 75 years from today, you will remember the magic that occurred at Violet Avenue Elementary School. You will be able to name the teacher who encouraged you, who inspired you, who reprimanded you, who told you you could do better, who said that you should aspire to do something great, you should have a dream, and you should go out and achieve it. When I was in elementary school, I wanted to be a pilot. And I have a teacher that I remember, Mrs. Badami, 3rd grade, and she lived up to her name. She was a tyrant. She was. She decided that she was going to make my life heck. She was going to demand I did my homework. She was going to demand I came in on time. She wanted to make sure I read everything about being a pilot, and I hated her for it. Except now I can tell you I loved her for it. Because what she knew in that little old school building I attended, not much unlike this one, was that by inspiring me, challenging me, I could do something great. And that's what President Roosevelt wanted in this school building when he helped to design it and see it to fruition 75 years ago. He wanted you to come to a safe place where teachers came together and inspired and challenged you. He wanted you to come to a place where you could learn all about your community and about the great things across our country and around the world. And he wanted a place that would be an example. Imagine this for a minute. He wanted a school building to be an example to the rest of the country. And you go to that school. Now, it turns out I'm afraid of heights and never could have been a pilot. But I can tell you now, as executive of a county, kind of like the mayor of a county, where over 100 years ago, a young Franklin Roosevelt stood in the middle of Hyde Park, probably holding his dad's horse, never believing he was going to be president of the United States. Only some 75 years ago, he was president of the United States, designing a building. I get to be a part of this place and this community. And you know what I'll remember today? I'll remember the smiling faces of these young kids who know that in this school building, designed by a president, in a beautiful community, yes, along the Hudson River, looking up at the Catskill Mountains, they have great teachers, they have great families, and a great community that wants to celebrate not only the anniversary of a building, but the magic that occurs within it. And for that, I am very, very grateful. Now, I will tell you, I have a proclamation. I won't read it to you, but this is the best part. This is the easiest part of my job, and I love it. I do have to tell one joke. Imagine 100 years ago, though, Mr. Polero was out on the street with Franklin making sure that the horse... Are you that old, Dan? Dan Polero. I had to he's my neighbor, and I told him I would make fun of him today. Do you all know Mr. Polero? He's miserable. Nice guy, not 100 years old. This is the best part of my job. On behalf of Dutchess County and all of the 300,000 people who call this county home, I join with you in acknowledging the acknowledgement and dedication of this school building as one of the most prominent and important historic buildings in America. You don't get a plaque unless that's the truth. And on behalf of Dutchess County, proclaim October 5th as Violet Avenue School Day in Dutchess County. God bless and thank you.
All of you who know me know that I love that it's Violet Avenue Day on October 5th. Okay. So next, our Town of Poughkeepsie Supervisor, Todd Tancredi, would like to come and talk with you.
Thank you, Principal Gonzalez. It's a pleasure to be here today, and it is certainly a beautiful day and a good day in the town of Poughkeepsie. It's always a positive day for us when we can celebrate a historic building like this, a beautiful building in the town. I'm glad we're working on ways to ensure that it remains for generations. And I do have a proclamation from the town board congratulating the school and its entire staff, and I won't take the time to read it, but I just want to thank everybody that was involved in this effort, and thank the teachers that are here, the present and past. I appreciate the work you do, and I know education, maybe as like government, isn't easy today, but your efforts don't go unnoticed, and I want to thank you for what you do. Thank you.
All right, so our plaque for our historic register is here. It is displayed on the table. Shortly after this ceremony, it will be placed on the building properly in front for everyone to see. But I encourage you, as you're walking by and heading back into the building, to take a look at it. It is beautiful. It says that our building was officially rededicated today. So please do take a look at the plaque. So to conclude our ceremony for today, I have the President's Men here from FDR that are going to perform our song to conclude our ceremony. So I invite them to join me by the podium.
So let's do it.
thy good with brotherhood from sea to shining sea. Oh, beautiful for pilgrim feet whose stern impassioned stress a thoroughfare for freedom beat across the wilderness. America, America, God mend thy every flaw. Confirm thy soul in self-control, thy liberty in law. Beautiful for heroes proved in liberating strife, who more than self their country loved, and mercy more than life. America, America, may God thy gold refine, till all success be nobleness, and every gain divine. Oh, beautiful for nature dream that sees beyond the years. Thine alabaster cities gleam, undimmed by human tears. America, America, God shed his grace on thee, and crown thy good with brotherhood from sea to shining sea.
And I would like to let you all know that Ryan Wade is who directs the President's Men. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for coming over. Thank you. Okay, so at this time, I would like to invite all of our invited guests for a reception provided in thanks to the culinary in our library. So if you would join us for that, we would love to have you for a little while longer if you can spare the time. To all of our children, thank you so much. You were an excellent audience, and I'm so happy you were here to do this with us today on our 75th birthday.